So whenever we're stopped for gas or at a rest area, I'll have my handheld infrared gun. And I'm going to check the hubs to make sure none of my bearings are overheating. Looking good. Okay, welcome to this week's episode of Luv Subbin. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about a typical RV tow day.
Yes, we're going to document what happens during a typical RV tow day.
Yes, but you have to start somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where are we starting today?
We're starting in Virginia at the Appomattox Court House.
Yes, and behind me is the McLean House.
Yes.
The McLean House is where General Robert E. Lee surrendered the Army of Northern Virginia to General or Lieutenant General Ulysses S. Grant of the Army of the Potomac. Not quite ending the Civil War, but basically, for all intents and purposes, the Civil War ended right here.
Correct. And this is also a national monument as well.
Yes. So we're going to go ahead and check things out here. They've restored this whole little village.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're going to get some history in and then start our tow day.
We will.
So we're here at the parlor of the McLean House, and this is where it actually happened. This is where the Civil War basically ended. You can see at this table here is where General Lee sat. And at this table here is where General Grant sat. The stories are riff with General Lee showing up impeccably dressed in his uniform, and General Grant pretty much had mud splattered on from his ride to get here. There was a lot of talk about why this house was selected, and basically from what I can tell, it's because A, General Grant sent one of his officers to come check it out and find a suitable place, and it was the only first place he basically came upon that was suitable. And second, McLean, the owner of the house, was one of the few residents who hadn't left and fled because of the impending battle.
So the house was still in good shape and hadn't been looted or destroyed or anything.
Correct. He was still living in it. So this was a suitable place, and so you can see this here, the parlor, where the Civil War came to an end. And what did it say in the highway to Appomattox, where the nation came back together again?
Yes. So what's interesting is this house has actually been reconstructed because it was dismantled potentially for a display in the 1890s.
I think I said 1893. It was dismantled and shipped to D.C.
And it never happened to be reconstructed, and so they brought it back here in 1940s and put it back together.
Yep. So amazing piece of history that happened in this room with Grant and Lee.
Yep.
They said that it was very important that Grant put in the terms that as long as people were to disarm themselves of the Confederacy, go back to their homes and live according to the laws of their lands, that the United States would not prosecute them. And is one of the reasons why General Lee was never prosecuted for treason, was because of the surrender terms that Grant wrote line by line on a piece of paper, handed to Lee, that they agreed upon.
So what about Jefferson Davis? Was he prosecuted for treason? I thought he was.
That's a good point, yeah, because he was imprisoned at the Dry Tortugas prison there.
Yep.
They may have made an exception because they really hated him, so I don't know.
Well, he wasn't technically an officer either.
Yeah, I think maybe because they probably said that the terms of the surrender applied to the armies of the Confederacy and not necessarily its civilian leaders like Jefferson Davis. Amazing. So now we can truly say that we've seen where the Civil War started and where it ended. Yes. Because many people think it's Fort Sumter, and that's not correct. Because the actual first shots of the Civil War were fired in anger on January 9th, 1861 by Cadets Hainsworth and Cadet Pickens of the Citadel, who fired upon the Union resupply vessel Star of the West as it was heading out to Fort Sumter to resupply. Thankfully, the Citadel cadets were very bad shots and were not able to hit the Star of the West, so the start of the Civil War officially becomes Fort Sumter.
Yep.
Okay, that was a successful visit to Appomattox Court House. I got my brochure, which I collect every national park that we go to. Special ones, I get a patch. But also, whenever we're east of the Mississippi, basically, I always travel with the American Civil War Atlas from West Point. And what this allows me to do is check out, it's all the different maps of the campaigns, where the armies are.
All the battles?
All the battles, including 58. Appomattox, the final march of Lee and Grant's armies when they met at Appomattox Court House. So this allows me to study the battlefield, study the commanders involved, and we never go anywhere without this.
Now here's the question. We got some information from the gentleman at the bookstore about a battle that happened somewhere near here that's kind of obscure. So we're going to go see if we can track it down.
We wrote it down on a piece of paper. So when a docent writes something down on a piece of paper like this, you've got to explore. So let's go try and find this other battlefield that he talks about. So yeah, as we said, one of the things, you know, when you talk to docents, when you talk to the people that work at these national parks, you get some great information. And the docent at Appomattox Court House told us about this battle here. This was like one of the last battles to take place.
April 8th.
Yep, the day before the surrender on April 9th. So it was General Walker's artillery. They were just kind of camped here. They were shaving, eating their rations, and General Custer's cavalry charged them.
Yep.
So they tried to repulse them with artillery, but with no infantry support, they had problems. But it was actually General Custer that did this last charge here. And you can check out when we visited Little Bighorn and the last stand of George Custer earlier last year.
Yep.
So yeah, just you never would have fallen upon this.
Well, we wouldn't have known.
We never would have known this.
Yeah.
And
so just for
thank you, docent.
Yeah.
So we're here at Grant's headquarters, and there's this plaque here that commemorates the battle that we were just at. We were actually at the battlefield site, but because most people don't know about it, they just have this thing here. And look, part of Custer's cavalry unit was the 1st Vermont Cavalry, and you know that we always look for our home state and how they participated in the Civil War. They did so gallantly, and again, right up until the end. All right, good morning. It is 7 a.m. The alarm has gone off, and it is our typical RV travel day. You know, we allocate about 3 hours or so for wake up to wheels up, as we say. And that includes some fluff time, like checking emails and stuff like that. So it's not just all preparation and checklists and getting ready. But yeah, and we are traveling today. We have 231 miles to go from our park here in Appomattox, Virginia, up to Boonsboro, Maryland, for a one-night stay at Greenbriar State Park. We can also estimate it takes about 50 miles per hour of travel time. So 231 miles, that's about 5 hours plus. If we want to arrive around 3-ish with some fluff time, around 3 to 4, then yeah, we're going to shoot for a 10 o'clock departure time and have a good travel day. But like any other day, whether it's a travel day or otherwise, it starts with coffee. And you know, we're still, I can't believe I've become a coffee snob like some, but yeah, we're still using water from that healing spring in South Carolina. So we'll pour that the night before, get that going, and make some coffee. We've got all kinds of coffee videos, like up here or here, wherever it goes, to show how we make our coffee in our percolator. All right, let's get this to RV travel day going. Okay, it is a Wednesday, and that means yesterday was an every Tuesday. And so because we have no idea whether we're going to have internet at our next state park, because, you know, obviously Starlink requires a open sky, and I think if I recall, Greenbriar is pretty shaded. That means answering comments before I get going. So we try and answer every comment on our YouTube channel whenever somebody comments. So hopefully if you've ever commented on our YouTube channel, we've given you an answer. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and answer some comments from our choosing the best RV campground, our system revealed, whether it's Corps of Engineers, State Park, County Park, or City Park. So let's go ahead and answer some of the comments from those of you that made a comment on our video. All right, so good morning. It's about an hour and a half before wheels up. That means we're going to start our respective tasks. Like a lot of people, I do the outside stuff, Cindy does the inside stuff. And of course, everything is going to be done by the checklist. But first, Starlink comes in. So yeah, let's go ahead and take Starlink. You know, it's a fascinating case study here. I've often said that you make mistakes when the 3 Ds happen. You're either distracted, you're doing something different, or you're doing something dumb. And here I'm trying to film our departure, and I'm doing something different and I'm distracted because I'm filming. And you didn't see it off camera, but I forgot to put Dishy in store mode after it was all disconnected, which means I had to reconnect it, put it into store mode. Got it all finished, loaded the truck, and left behind the stakes for Dishy. So I've got to put that in. But yeah, the 3 Ds of making mistakes: when you're distracted, when you're doing something different, or when you're doing something dumb. So we're just going to go ahead and put these in and really concentrate on our checklist. Okay, from this step forward, everything we're doing is exactly per the checklist. I will read every step and perform every step in the sequential order of our laminated checklist. As you can see, they hang around my neck. I can look up at them. You know, I posted something once and somebody's like, "Well, I use my phone for this." Okay, I get it. How about using your phone when it's 50-mile-an-hour winds and sideways rain during a tropical storm hitching up, which I've done before? How about using your checklist when you've got your phone in one hand and you're trying to do something in the other hand? This one here allows me to constantly look, not make mistakes, especially when I'm distracted. The other thing we'll do is, if you saw, we posted our 22nd stream anniversary on the internet. We were excited, woohoo! And we know all that data because of our logbook that we enter. So I'm going to go ahead and enter our mileage is at 86990.2. We'll record the mileage once we get into Boonsboro, and that's how we know exactly how much mileage we towed, and we can base our maintenance on it. I'm not going to go through film every step on our checklist here. We've got a video on our checklist, as well as they're available for free download at www.luvsubbin.com/checklist. So we have a departing, arrival for interior, exterior, as well as every other checklist you might need for spring maintenance, winterizing, dewinterizing, sanitizing the tanks. They're the best ones out there, in our opinion. So I will check the truck tire pressure with the manual gauge, and I know it's going to read out on the dashboard with the TPMS, but two things: it's a holdover from my 2001 truck when it didn't have TPMS, and also this forces me to look at the tire, make sure there's no bulges or unusual wear or whatever. It's really just to force that. For the trailer, I will not look at it manually. I will use my TPMS indicator, and that's because I think there's just a little bit of variation in having to take that cap off, in which you're seating the valve and unseating the valve. I wouldn't want to have to check it and then have a slow leak by putting that valve back on and then have an issue down the road. So for this, I use the TPMS. The other thing I'll do is I will check the lug nuts with a torque wrench per my checklist once a month or before leaving on every big trip. In between those trips, like during the day-to-day stops, all I will do is I'll take a tire iron, I'll check just to make sure they're tight. Trailer tires do need to check the lug nuts because of the weird forces applied to trailer tires that are sitting very close to one another. Truck tires don't have that because they're separated. Trailer tires get that weird torsional force, and that could work the lug nuts loose. That's why it's important to check them on a trailer and not so much on the truck. The truck, I'll just do it once or twice a season. That's it. One other item on my checklist is to make sure that my TPMS caps are tight, and I use this little tool to do it. You'll notice that I have rubber stems. Are steel valve stems better? Absolutely. They are only required though for the flow-through caps. These are not the flow-through caps, so they're not required. TST, Tire Minder, they all run their tests on rubber stems. They're fine. I've got over 100,000 miles and 15 years on rubber stems. Never had an issue. Maybe next time I might put them on. Next time I go to get my tires changed out, but for right now, they're good to go. Just gotta make sure they're tight and they won't come off. My unscientific survey says that probably 90-95% of the people use a drill to lower and raise their stabilizers. I don't. I like the manual method because I like feeling the amount of pressure I'm putting onto those stabilizers as they come down. So I do not use a drill. I'm a manual kind of guy.
So good morning. As Rich gets stuff done outside, I start putting things away in the front area of the cabin, in drawers and cabinets, so that we don't have anything left on the countertops. So the lamp will come down in a second, but I'm just going to put my makeup mirror away and make sure it's hooked. It's got a little hook right there. So as you can see, the lamp is on the floor. The front bedroom counter is clear. We've checked fantastic fans and locks in this area, and so this area is ready to go. So next I'm packing anything in a bottle into a little carry case that's going to go into the truck, and that would include olive oil. And anything that's kind of liquidy in this cabinet. Let's see what we got. We got this, which is distilled water. We've got oil and rice vinegar. So all that's going to go into a little bag into the truck. So the fridge is currently running at 37 degrees, which is about perfect for the fridge. It will probably go up in the meantime when I open it up and empty it out to about 42 or 43. And so I want to run it on electricity as long as possible. So this is the first big task that I'm going to do, is empty the refrigerator of anything that can tip or leak, and also get everything off the shelves on the door. So you can see it's fairly emptied out. There's going to be nothing on the door while we travel. And that's because these plastic things have a tendency to break really easily, and I've gone through several of these shelves with nothing in them, so if you put anything in them, it's going to just make matters worse. So it's all secured with a tension rod, and everything's going to be locked up. So we are ready to go. So everything is in the cooler. It's going to go back out to the truck, which was not supportive of our Yeti cooler when we first got it, but boy, does it keep things cold. It's been very handy on our trips. So before I do dishes, the last dishes before we leave, I always check the gray water tank to see if I can be generous with the gray water or if I have to be frugal. So if it's fairly low, like 60% or something like that, I'll be fairly generous with the water while I do dishes. So the glassware is getting ready to be stowed in their little traveling containers, and they'll be stowed up there. The coffee pot is ready to go, and it will be stored down there. These two items will be stored underneath the sink. It's important that everything have its place so you can have a clean counter when you travel. So I also secure both of these cabinets here with tension rods. Not so much to keep things from falling out, but to keep things from falling on my head when I open up these cabinets when we get to our destination. Like so. So all the heavy items in these cabinets will be taken down and put into this little tote bag that I have ready here, and we'll travel on the floor during the tow day. All the glass items that are in my spice cabinet get moved to this little container and will be placed on the floor as well, because they will just pop out during the trip. And then we'll clean the stove and close the cover. So everything in the bathroom is taken out of its little containers and put into the sink for travel mode. And the rug is brought outside in case anything splashes from the toilet while we travel. So my final step is some duct tape in various spots, including the bathroom mirror. And you can see we have a lot of stuff that travels on the bed, including the silverware, which if left in the drawer for a long term over a lot of tows, has ended up stripping the screws in the rails of the drawers. So all of this stuff will be traveling on the floor, and I think we're ready to go.
So I've got the older style Hitch latch. It's not the Demco, but I've noticed in the past whereby this little hinge here can slide out. So what I've done is I put a zip tie on it, but as I'm doing my checks here, my zip tie's broke. So attention to detail, we're going to replace that zip tie. Okay, the last thing we do before we tow off is disconnect electric, and we do that for two reasons. First of which, so as not to drain the battery in the Hitch Evolution, because the Hitch jack draws a whole lot of amps, so we'll use the power for that, and also to keep that fridge running as long as possible, because we don't run on gas when we're towing. So as Cindy described, everything will go into a cooler that we'll need, and we'll keep the door closed, and that fridge will be ready to go when we get back, as long as we keep it going as long as possible. All right, from our Windows video, you know one of the things we look for in our pre-departure is that our soldiers are at attention or the pegs are standing up, but sometimes you can see the sub is filthy. I don't worry about cleaning it when we're on the road. We're using it, we're not washing it. We'll do that when we get home. But instead, I'll just give it a quick push too, just because sometimes these pegs are a little bit hard to see with all that pollen and crap. So yeah, just an extra check, just to make sure the window's closed so you don't have that surprise of a smushed open window on the road. But if you do, our lawn service took it out, and we've got a video to show you how to make a temporary repair and how to get that window replaced and the cost. Okay, our last step before we pull out is what we call driver's meeting, and this is when we go over our paper Rand McNally Atlas, and that's so that we don't fight the GPS, right?
Well, the GPS often will take the shortest way to go, and it's not always the best way to go.
For your trailer. So like we're looking here, we've got a nice little big road that'll take us up to Charlottesville to 64 to 81. And that's what we're going to do regardless of what Garminita starts squeaking about.
Yeah, she's going to try to send us the shortest route regardless of how big the roads are. So we don't want to do that.
Yeah, and so we're both in agreement as to our route. Let's go ahead and pull her out.
Yep.
All right, there's nobody here today. It's a peaceful day, so it's a good day to show you how we dump our tanks. We always dump our tanks whenever we have the chance, and that's because our black tank is located right here in the back, and our gray tank is located right here at the back of the trailer, and that's not where you want a lot of excess weight, so we always try to remove that weight if at all possible. Our freshwater tank is between the axles, which is exactly where you want it to be, and why we always travel with freshwater tank, to lower the center of gravity and to make sure we have fresh water whenever an emergency may need it. So let's go ahead and get out the Stinky Slinky. I keep it in the back bumper. Go ahead and connect it. I can hear Cindy right now filling some water. Some people will advocate pulling the gray tank first, letting it go a little bit, and then the black. I don't do that, never have. We're just going to pull the black first. And we're always going to stay here to make sure that nothing, there's no accidental discharge. And by the way, use gloves. I don't know how many times I see people not wearing gloves. And also flip-flops. Don't wear flip-flops. There could be, this is really clean right now, but there could be a lot of wet, moisture, sewage. We've seen accidental releases. We've seen people just not have a hose and pull this and let it just go. So don't wear flip-flops, but wear gloves. All right, massaging the Stinky Slinky a little bit. And now we're gonna go tell Cindy that she can pour some fresh water buckets down the black tank. We don't have a flush valve, so she's going to pour some fresh water down to go ahead, and any paper material that might be stuck here can go ahead and flow through. So we're going to go ahead and do that. The door's open. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. She's poured it down. We're going to close the black valve, and now we're going to open gray. Opening gray last allows all that soapy water to flush out any of the black water. Now we're going to go ahead and tell her that the black is closed and that she can add her chemicals. We go with the clean tank system, which is a mixture of pine sol and calgon. So you can check out the video here where we had our tanks cleaned by Clean Tank and their recommendation for what chemicals to use. I'm going to go tell her that she can add those chemicals now. Yeah, I see people occasionally saying, you know, they couldn't get their black valve to connect, or there wasn't a hose or whatever. It's no big deal. You can go once or a couple times. We go all the time without a black flush. We just throw a bucket of fresh water down the tank. It'll work. All right, a little Stinky Slinky massaging. All right, that's empty. We're going to close gray. We're going to tell Cindy that gray is closed. We're going to go ahead and disconnect. You don't want to lay this down because it'll drain out. Put our cap on. Open this up. Take our hose. We're going to go ahead and flush out our hose with some fresh water. Drain this out. And there you have it, the fastest dump in the West. We average about 5 minutes and 30 seconds to 6 minutes per dump. So please don't take a lot of time. We hate when that happens. So our travel day continues. We're on I-81 heading up north on the interstate. You know, whether it's the interstate or back roads, we enjoy both, but I actually like the interstate. I know a lot of people don't. but I like the sense of the open road, the truckers, the rest stops, etc. So yeah, and we're checking our tire monitoring pressure system here. I'm looking at this thing, I'd say 20 times a minute. I can tell you exactly that this side of the truck is 1 degree warmer than this side because of the sun is on this side. The right front is 1 degree warmer than the right rear because of the exhaust coming off the truck. So yeah, what do you say, C? Heading down the road here?
Yep, we're heading down the road. And we're getting near Strasburg, not too far from Winchester, which we're gonna do a gas stop.
We will, so we'll document how we choose gas stops.
So we have a hierarchy of gas stations as well as campgrounds, correct?
Correct. So we have 72 miles to empty. At 75 miles is when we start looking for a gas station that's appropriate. So our first hierarchy is?
The Flying J.
Pilot Flying J's, yeah, especially the Flying J's because they usually have dedicated RV lanes. So
yeah.
That makes it super easy in and out. Next would be Luv's. The thing we like about both of those is that unlike my mistake for our big summer trip, I now have the gas cards for all of those folks and can you know, get the discounted. I think it was like 5 or 10 cents. So we've got that.
So we're gonna go down here.
Yeah, we're gonna go down here and take a left. It looks like there's a lot of RVs there, but there's usually space for us. The reason we start looking at 75 miles because as Commander Mike Metcalf, callsign Viper, once said, never push a bad position, always save your aircraft to fight another day. And if this is too full,
our auto entry right
yep,
there.
if this is, and you can see the RV lanes here are
pretty packed,
so we're not gonna go there probably. But what we'll do is when you see
their RVs.
Yeah, they're all packed in the RVs. But here's the deal. When you have a gas station like this that butts up against a building, you never want to pull in like this guy is. You always want to go out and around so that you can make for that easy egress. Yep. So we're gonna go around here.
Watch out, someone's coming in. Yeah, timing.
Yeah. And you notice I got my one eye in the mirror looking for
well done.
Any posts. So we're pointing out so that we can get out easily. You can see all the RV lanes.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of our higher. The other gas stations we look for are anything with 24-hour diesel, usually is a big station, or any of those with the big, huge roadside signs.
Yep.
Those are usually also catering to folks who are
also, if there's near a state park, exit as well because you're usually catering to RVs going to a state park.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and get our discount going and get some gas. So as we pull into our state park here, Greenbriar State Park, you know, one tip, especially post-COVID, is to have your site number before you pull into the park. We've failed on this a couple of times, having to get used to it because it never used to be like this. But with all the touchless entry and touchless registration
and closed registration,
that happened during COVID. Sometimes you'll have no contact with a ranger or whatever. Your documents will be on the post on the site, and
so you just go straight to your site. But if you don't know where you're going,
and we've done that before, and we're like, where do we go?
All right, so it looks like we're coming up here to the entrance. I don't know if it's going to be open or not. We'll see. This was one of the ones that didn't have anything there, so we will continue on to the campground.
We're in Charlie 84.
Yep, we're going to continue on to our campsite, and or if there's another entry point, we'll see.
All right, so we've pulled in. The first thing we're going to do is recon our site.
Yep.
Cindy's kind of marked on the ground there where she thinks she wants to go.
Yeah, I'm looking for level side by side because we're planning to stay hitched up.
We looked up.
Yep, we looked up.
There's nothing to worry us there. The only thing we've really got to worry about is
a little bit of a hill, but it's not going to be
that tree right there. Wherever that tree is right there. So yeah, let's go ahead and dock her and chock her.
Yep, let's do it.
All right, good, we're ready to attack. Let's dock her and chock her. Put a beer on ice and call the ball.
All right, here's the board. right turn to the left. That's what to do. A little bit to the left. All right, stop there.
Well, there you have it. A typical tow day with a little bit of history thrown in.
Join us next week as we travel to Lime Rock, Connecticut for a boondocking rally with the Porsche Club.
So if you like this video,
Give us a big thumbs up.
and if you think we've earned a subscription, click subscribe.
And comment below if you have any tow day tips to share.
Because we come out with RV and Airstream related videos just like this one every Tuesday.
Thanks for watching.